Greetings and salutations, my name is Karan Jones, cosplay name Zentai-Fit, and thank you for watching today's comic recap. Without further ado, let's get into it. Today, we are recapping issue number 20 of Boom Studios Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and oh my goodness, this comic introduces us to a fresh and awesome story arc. If you haven't read this comic, major spoilers ahead. This issue starts off in the year of 1969 when man landed on the moon from the US. People all over the nation are glued to the radio and television watching the historic event take place. While the astronauts are on the moon, we are also introduced to the Psycho Green Ranger, whom we later learn is out on a mission to free Rita Repulsa from her magic-concealed prison. Later, we are introduced to a young Grace Sterling as she is on a rooftop talking to her friend Marcus about her ambitions with NASA/space. Grace says something about a reoccurring dream opposite of the nightmare where she's the happiest she has ever been, up in space, floating in orbit, and then wakes up to remember just what reality truly is like, and that's the nightmare. I'm pointing this segment out because it concludes and guides the story somewhat as we continue to read on. So remember Grace's dream conversation. As Grace is conversing with Marcus, she is then teleported away in a bright red gleam. We then see Grace and 5 other individuals in the command center with Zordon. At this point, everyone is freaking out and wondering what the heck is going on. The group of folks babble on, trying to make sense of things. Some even speak different languages, and eventually Alpha 5 activates the command center translators to ease everyone's understanding. The folks ask Alpha 5 what the hell he is, some kind of alien robot? And Alpha 5 responds by saying, precisely, and then introduces the group to Zordon. Zordon immediately welcomes everyone and gets right to the fact of why these people have been summoned. The fate of the world is at stake, and it all depends on this group of people. Some are still tripped out that a face in a tube is speaking to them, while Grace asks what Zordon means about the fate of the world. Zordon then goes on to tell the story of Rita Repulsa and her ways of destruction. Rita has been concealed for thousands of years. Knowing that some would come looking for her and try to free her, Alpha and Zordon created a pulse-cannon defense on Earth. During a battle 100 years ago, they were forced to use this weapon as the target was Psycho Green. We learned that Psycho Green was the right hand to an evil overlord known as Dark Spectre. They thought the cannon destroyed Psycho Green, however, they learned as of today, their efforts to destroy him were not successful. Alpha says he crashed on the moon and his ship kept him alive, and now the moon landing seems to have woken him back up. They think the ship's sensors picked up on the astronauts and woke Psycho Green up. Zordon then says Alpha has interrupted Psycho Green's communications in his ship, so he cannot contact Dark Spectre. If he were successful, the most evil entity would be unleashed, and this group of people have been chosen to prevent that from happening. Zordon and Alpha then go on to tell this group that they must become Power Rangers. They seem confused and then ask why they can't just fire the cannon again. Alpha explains they can't just fire things at the moon, and then Zordon gives the layout for what exactly a Power Ranger is. The group briefly thinks through this decision, arguing on what to do and what not to do. As far as their decision, Grace then asks if this mission means they get to go to the moon. Zordon says that is correct, and then Grace tells everyone, regardless of the circumstances, they all get to go to the moon. Who could deny an offer like that? And besides, none of what's happening to them seems like a prank or joke any human could pull off. Everyone agrees to go on this mission, and then they are all given morphers, and somebody had to say it sooner than later. It's Morphin time. And the group of 5 agree. Everyone is morphed up, and Alpha 5 wishes them luck as they are teleported onto the moon. Now on the moon, the Rangers are in shock and can't believe they are in outer space. The Black Ranger asks Grace, Red Ranger, if she is okay, and she says certainly. We then see tears in her eyes as she holds gravel from the moon. These are tears of joy, most definitely. The Blue Ranger doesn't seem impressed by the moon and says Americans made a big deal out of it. In his country, they have put men and women in space long before the US. Black Ranger and Blue Ranger briefly argue about cultural differences, and then Red Ranger gets everyone to refocus on the mission at hand. Early on, we learn the Blue Ranger of the 60s was the hothead of the team. We see that even more in depth, as he seems to be fairly defiant with Red Ranger's leadership. The team agrees to go on a coordinated hunt to find Psycho Green. Red Ranger has an idea of where the spaceship is located, and then has Black and Blue Ranger head off to the ridge to search for visual confirmation. We then see Psycho Green walking on the moon and not far from Black and Blue Ranger, as he has spotted them from a distance away. As the Black and Blue Ranger continue walking and conversing, we then see Psycho Green behind them, and they are unaware of this. Flashing over to the rest of the team, we see Red Ranger and the others right by Rita's containment. Yellow and Pink argue back and forth briefly until they are interrupted by a distress call. We soon see the explosion of some sort out in the distance, and trouble soon follows. Psycho Green is beating Black and Blue Ranger around. It's evident even though there is a team of 5, experience-wise, they stand no match against the Green Ranger. Almost kicked into oblivion, Blue Ranger is saved by the Red Ranger. Psycho Green then lifts a huge rock with one hand and smashes the Black Ranger to her death. Can we pause a minute? Did a Power Ranger just die? For all of you 90s kids asking for a darker and grittier Power Ranger story, if you have not purchased Boom Studios Mighty Morphin Power Ranger comics, this is what you have been waiting for. I just had to make a quick note of that. Going on, Pink and Yellow Ranger try attacking Psycho Green only to witness another death. The Pink Ranger's helmet visor completely breaks as he tried fighting the villain, exposing him to 0 oxygen. Psycho Green then shoots the remaining Rangers with an energy blast. Then we see him walking to Rita's prison chamber, attempting to free her. Quickly, he is shot by the power blaster from the Rangers. They continue to use this as their defense, and soon they believe they defeated him. Red Ranger is still in shock that 2 other Rangers have been killed, while Blue Ranger is ready to move on in battle and says they died bravely. It happens. Red Ranger attempts to address his insensitivity, only to be interrupted by Psycho Green's second transformation. Now, I couldn't help but think about Dragon Ball when I seen this. It made me think of Cell or Frieza with that secondary form kind of theme. I thought that was really, really cool. Going on, the remaining team flees from the monster, and as they are running towards what looks to be Rita's soon-to-be palace, in front of it, there's a huge cannon. Blue Ranger grabs it and is determined to make his shots count. They will save the world, and before Blue Ranger uses the cannon, he tells Grace to make sure it's worth saving. From that point on, Blue Ranger jumps in the air with the cannon into the mouth of Psycho Green. Soon, we see Blue Ranger set off the cannon inside the monster, killing Psycho Green and sacrificing himself in the process. Back at the command center, Yellow and Red Ranger are angry and frustrated at Zordon. No one was ready for this. They had no training, and now 3 people are dead. Zordon apologizes and realizes he didn't put them in the best situation to succeed. Grace is furious and determined to now use her Red Ranger powers to start fixing the world. Zordon then explains they can't keep these powers, as the world is no longer at stake. The 2 Rangers disagree and feel they could do so much more, even in the current war going on. Zordon assures them that today they were successful, but it is not their place to interfere in the affairs of mankind. Grace says this is wrong. Zordon apologizes, and then the 2 last, now former Rangers, exit the command center. The Yellow Ranger says, at least on the plus side, they don't have to go to outer space ever again. And Grace says, yeah, while holding what looks to be a dagger of the Psycho Green Ranger? To be continued. Now, remember that dream Grace was talking about? The dream segment I was telling you to remember earlier on in the comic, where she had everything she ever wanted and then woke up to realize that reality actually sucks. It's as if this comic was a picture of that dream. Grace Sterling dreamed of being in space and on the moon, and that did happen, just not in the fashion that she expected. Wow. Just wow. This issue was one giant leap for Power Rangers. Holy crap. Rangers actually died. We got to see a lady be the Red Ranger leader, which we have seen in the TV series before. But this issue really emphasized that anyone can be a Power Ranger. They were successful in their own way, even through failure, and only being Rangers for a short time. Now, my question is, how does this flashback to the 1969 tie into what will happen next with the Rangers that we are familiar with? Even though Psycho Green is evil, I want to see more of that guy. I kind of miss him already. What an exciting new character, and what an amazing story issue 20 was. What did you all think of this week's issue? Be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for tuning in. Please be sure to like and share this video. Also, if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel to get the latest on Boom Studios, Power Ranger comics, and more. Until next time, guys, wham, bam, boom.